Hello. Times of COVID, terrible times for everyone, but particularly if you're in stage 4 lockdown, as in Melbourne and other areas. I'm Bronwyn Cooper, pain podiatrist, clinical educator, and foot gear consultant here at Dr. Foot Solutions in Drummoyne. Now, I've specialised in the clinical applications of foot gear for some 15 years now, and the results are so dramatic. A lot of you know of various brands, but I'll shortly show you my showroom and we'll have a quick little tour, just as we do via telehealth. So I want to help you to help expand your current range of business services and clinical services to help you through these tough times, and also to keep you connected with your patients. You all know if you've got patients with bunions, hammer-toes for example, any forefoot pathology whatsoever, midfoot anyway of course, and particularly heel pain and plantar fasciitis or complex chronic heel pain syndrome, as I call the new version that's now manifesting in these last 10 years, all can be helped particularly by foot strengthening. And look, the research has been showing that, as our colleagues in Brisbane, in their studies of heel pain and the size of the foot intrinsic muscles, presented at SMA conference last year in Sunshine Coast, and again at the recent APODA virtual conference. So that's Dr. Melinda Smith and the good work they're doing there. And so many of you will be aware of that. So how could you be helping your patients? Well, obviously you could do the consult with them via telehealth. You could also be recommending and advising devices that are going to help strengthen their toes and particularly reclaim toe position. So toe trainers. This is one of the two products that we stock here at Barefoot Science. Barefoot Science is the other one here at Dr. Foot Solutions for our clinicians to purchase here in Australia and New Zealand. And you'll see me obviously in winter wearing the Injinji socks and then putting the toe trainers on. And clearly these won't fit into a fashion-shaped toe box or your conventional big brand sport shoes. You will need a foot-blasted shoe, not aesthetically compromised for the sake of appearance, which are all your fashion sneakers, the Cafe Latte set of fashion sneakers that most people are wearing, gym shoes, joggers, etc., runners when they go to the coffee shop. So we're talking about the Ultra here, also Zero Drop. So I'm going to take you into the showroom and show you some of the range of products and services that we have, and I show this as well to my telehealth patients, whether they're interstate or just can't easily get to me here in Sydney, and we can see exactly show them what's available, how it works, etc. It's very, very easy. So come with me and we'll go into the showroom. So times of COVID, signage, this seems to work quite well on the floor here. So this is both reception and the showroom. So Kate's behind the desk, of course, in the mask. We've got, fortunately, a view here. What we're looking at though, if I've got patients that are doing telehealth with, I can show them the range and array of devices and products, particularly all of the stable rockers, the unstable rockers and the semi-stable rockers. So we'll be covering that in the Clinical Gem CPD program that I'm delivering. Here we've got the Zero Drop, Posture Perfect, so I happen to stock Vivo Barefoot and Ultra. None of these are brands that I wholesale. I'm simply a reseller, but they're vitally important clinical tools for many, many patients. So with telehealth, when I have a guy in Queensland last year in December in central Queensland, we were able to dispense the foot strengthening Barefoot Science. He's a runner who has some issues with his forefoot and has plantar plate. So we were able to send him Barefoot Science. He was able to claim still on his health fund, of course, as you do. And here you'll see the central dome with the progressive strengthening resistance plugs where the grades go through. There are now 7 in the model that's currently available. Now, another part of his important treatment was the OOFIS thong, which I use a lot with chronic heel pain. And he's a size 14. So yes, we have a US 14. His Vivo Barefoot shoes were actually up to a European 48, which would be about a 15. So you can see via the photo of the foot if the morphology is such that they're not going to fit into a slide strap, like the woman from Buderim. The other telehealth case I want to share with you is an outstanding one of a woman who, as it happened, when I suggested she would benefit from a Hoka shoe, and at that point there weren't slides and thongs available, I think. I might be wrong, perhaps there were. So here's some of our Hoka range on display here, as you can see. what happened was she said to me, I've been advised to get those previously. And when she went to a large major chain to get the Hockers on the recommendation of a podiatrist, she'd failed 4 different attempts at treatment with colleagues in Queensland. She had had multiple physiotherapy appointments, and the Hockers didn't feel right. But when I asked her, were you wearing your conventional support orthotics, the answer was yes. So the point about that is that you can, once again, advise appropriate footwear. It was November, so hot weather. I suggested she get into the brand FitFlop. I was able to tell her where her local stockist was. So this is your stable rolling through the ball of the foot thong. They also do sneakers and other models. We've stocked them since 2008. But I take the customer or the client over to the technology bay. I show them some of the science and research behind this, which we'll cover, and explain it's all based on this sort of splinting effect from the old 15-year-old technology that was then in MBTs. Here's your Hocker cutaway, and here's your FitFlop. So this will be covered in my webinar series, but it's very easy to turn around and have the patient then examine their foot. So in the case of the chronic failed midfoot, the woman in the Sunshine Coast was diagnosed with TIG post dysfunction, and she had midfoot arthritis, so she had a very collapsed foot. And I'll be featuring cases like that in upcoming webinar series. I figured she'd have shin splints because most of these people do. I asked her to find her inside ankle bone. I then said, find the bottom end of your shin bone. So it's literally simply a case of giving them the instructions of what you want to examine. If you're wanting to check for pain, in this case, trigger points, medial tibial stress syndrome, as I said. So I got her then to run her hand up a little way, an inch or so, and I said, now drop your hand back about an inch to be fine where the muscle starts. And if you get my whole reaction here, I'm faking that I've got the trigger point she had. So I could see that on the filming that I was looking at. Sometimes people have someone else holding the camera for them. Sometimes I can see it anyway while they're doing the test, all the way through the usual sort of trigger points you'd expect with nasty pain like that. Now, in the case of that particular lady, I was able to not only give her the expert advice and suggest that she could go to some clinics up there and have some photobiomodulation therapy to settle this, or obviously she could also have dry needling. I suggested that she needed a rocker thong effect, and the thong in particular because the enlarged midfoot here, the narrower strap will fit better and much more easily than a tight strap if there's a big difference in the 2 feet. I was even able to refer her to the particular outlet near her because having stocked this brand of orthomechanical footgear since 2008, I pretty much know where a lot of the stockists are. We sent her via the mail the appropriate size pair of Barefoot Science foot strengthening orthotics, which felt very, very supportive, and she'd failed over 4 sets of previous orthotics. Now, that was November 2017. She came to Sydney in the following February or March. Her symptoms were well over 70% better. She didn't even have painful trigger points anymore. She hadn't gone and had any hands-on physical therapy, no kinesiotaping or the other measures I'd discussed with her. And I looked at her and I said to her, so what else is different apart from you then wearing the FitFlop instead of bare feet or slippers, and also the Barefoot Science in all the neuromuscular orthotic in all your other footwear? And of course she looked at me and said, that's the only difference. And we both know, of course, that doesn't prove it was that we both knew it was that made the difference. Now, this is how simple these techniques are to implement, because you simply are really using modern devices where the best orthotics are now, frankly, outside the shoe. They're in the sole of the shoe. They're not something that is inserted on the inside of the shoe. So all of these devices can be very easily used via telehealth. And in particular, of course, if people want to have their own showrooms and stock complementary products or footgear for their patients. Frankly, in my view, after 15 years of doing specialised footgear, I don't believe any single clinician across any profession should recommend footwear for a clinical problem if they haven't stocked it themselves and had their patients try it, walk in it or run or move in it and see what the changes are. And that's where the learning is incredible. If you're getting all your information from footwear reps, you really need to look to see whether that information may be right or not, because frankly, a lot of it is not right. And I'm going to show you how to tell what is the correct information and what isn't, and how to apply it for your patients.